On Thursday, January 25th, Paldean Fates will come to Pokemon TCG Live. Unfortunately, it's a special set, not a main set, so the competitive side is forgotten like your mom's socks when she comes over to my house. We don't have full confirmation of all of the new cards that will be in Paldean Fates, but it's looking like there will be no more than 20. The only ones we currently know for sure are Great Tusk EX, Iron Treads EX, and a Grass-type Espathra EX. Great Tusk and Iron Treads finally carry the Ancient and Future designations, so they can take advantage of cards like the Booster Capsules, Techno Radar, and Professor Sada. Honestly, all three of these appear fairly underwhelming. Espathra can be annoying, and Great Tusk does have 310 hit points with an Ancient Booster attached. You'll need to play Path to the Peak to shut off its destructive ability, but these would likely be afterthoughts in a main set. Other noteworthy cards likely coming in Paldean Fates are the Charmeleon that protects against effects of attacks, meaning it's unaffected by Sableye's Lost Mine, the Gengar that can make Iron Valiant EX scarier, and Technical Machine Crisis Shot, which does 280 damage for 3 energy provided your opponent has 1 prize card left. The main reason why Crisis Shot will see play is that you can attach it to Cramorant from Lost Origin and use the attack for free. Then we have the Japanese gym promos. Atticus and Moonlight Hill are extremely powerful cards. Atticus is a Shuffle Draw 7 if your opponent's active is poisoned, a super easy thing to do with Brute Bonnet, and Moonlight Hill is an insane helper card for Gardevoir EX. However, the gym promos might be saved for Temporal Forces, our first main set of 2024, launching at the end of March. Same goes for Stovillain EX and Garganacl EX. Stovillain is a weaker version of Licky Licky from Unified Minds, discarding a random card from your opponent's hand and the top card of their deck. Garganacl EX has a beefy 340 hit points and its attack reduces damage taken by 60. Whether or not they end up in Paldean Fates or Temporal Forces, the G regulation mark will remain the same, meaning they'll all rotate out at the same time as the other 2023 cards in a few years. If you're confused by what I just said, I am too, but it makes sense. Anyways, how will Paldean Fates shake up the meta when it launches next month? Well, Shiny Treasures EX just released in Japan and we already have some tournament results. As expected, not much has changed, though it appears that the best new card coming in Paldean Fates will indeed be Crisis Shot. Obviously the main partner will be Cramorant. As long as you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone and your opponent has 1 prize card remaining, Cramorant does 280 damage for 0 energy. It offers Lost Box, an even insaner finisher than Radiant Charizard, able to one-shot the likes of Arceus V-Star and Giratina V-Star. And best of all, you don't need more than 1 copy of the new Technical Machine in your deck. But the usefulness of Crisis Shot doesn't stop with Cramorant. Any deck that can get 3 energy on a Pokemon will want 1 copy of it. Once your opponent's at 1 prize card, literally any Pokemon in your deck can use Crisis Shot. Are you a Miraidon player where things have gone horribly? Power up that Flaffy and win the game. Same with a Garchomp EX deck. Accelerate the energy onto a Gibble or something and use Crisis Shot the following turn. It also gives Pokemon like Hisuian Arcanine and Weirdeer easy ways to deal 280 damage at the end of the game, rather than needing to get a bunch of energy on them. The only other Paldean Fates card I've seen played successfully in Japan is the new Great Tusk EX. One Japanese player was sane and decided to pair Great Tusk with Garchomp EX and Path to the Peak. Another whacked off way too hard and put 27 energy into a deck. For the first list, it's easy. You play it like you normally would a Garchomp EX deck. Once you're set up, put 4 energy on Great Tusk, play down Path to the Peak, and now you have a 250 hit point basic dealing 260 damage each turn. And best of all, Great Tusk's attack goes through something like Mimikyu's ability. The second list is insane. There's no stadiums whatsoever, which means you want Great Tusk to mill your deck. That way you can use Koraidon's or Sandy Shock's ability to accelerate energy, Arcanine to put that energy on itself, and Thornton to surprise your opponent with an attacker. Other options for Great Tusk are Grant and something like Defiance Band to turn 260 damage into 320, and Ancient Booster Energy Capsule to give it that 310 hit points. But again, I don't think we're about to see much of a meta shakeup with Paldean Fates at the end of January, so don't be surprised if the free decks with the Paldean Fates Battle Pass end up being World Championship decks like they did earlier this year with Crown Zenith. Hey everyone, Future Pilot here. As I was editing, several Espathra EX decks managed to win tournaments in Japan. The strategy is what anyone with smooth feet could have predicted. Espathra forces them to need an extra energy to attack, and Pokemon League Headquarters forces basic Pokemon to need another energy on top of that to attack. Then you use Xatu to power up his Pathra and try to deal a decent amount of damage, and well, that's about it. It won't break standard or anything, but being able to hit Charizard EX and Roaring Moon EX for weakness is great, while also annoying other decks into requiring extra energy to attack. Except Chen Pao. Chen Pao will laugh in your face more than Koga when you challenge him to a battle. In other Pokemon TCG news, as I mentioned before, Temporal Forces is releasing on March 21st, 2024 in PTCGL, as revealed by PokeBeach. That will be our first main set of 2024 and could include the return of Ace Specs, which were teased at Worlds this year. March 21st should also be the rotation date in PTCGL, removing all E-Block cards in Standard. So basically, nearly every card from Battle Styles to Fusion Strike will rotate out. For those of you who play physically, IRL rotation would happen 2 weeks later, which just so happens to be the start date of EUIC. We'll know the first batch of cards in Temporal Forces in a few weeks, as Japan will receive the dual Wild Force and Cyber Judge sets on January 26th, which will be included in Temporal Forces in March. And there's also 2 starter decks on that date in Japan, which will have an Ancient Koraidon EX and a future Miraidon EX. To quickly sum up this video, Paldean Fates will suck for competitive players, and the end of March will see our first main set of 2024, which should coincide with the standard format rotation.